So in this video we are going to get started on listing all the different filters that we can apply to filter out all the properties that we have listed in the last video, right? So let's get started with this video. So in the last video we have just created a placeholder text over here for the filters. Okay, so let's replace this and start building our filter form. Okay, so within the app directory inside this properties folder we have created this page.tsx, right? So inside that we have created a placeholder called filters. Now let's replace this content with our filter form actually. Okay, so let us put this inside a design card. So let us use the card, and for this let's give the title of filters, and I forgot to turn off my copilot, and let's remove this, and we are giving a title of filters. Okay, we can start using this. So I have imported the card component, and now let's use a designed form element. Okay, so inside this form let's give a form.item to list an item inside the form, and we are going to give the name attribute. Okay, so this name will apply whatever we are embedding the input element inside this form. So this name is going to be listing type. Okay, so the first form item is going to be the listing type, whether we are giving it, we want to filter by rent or lease, sorry, for sale, and listing type. And inside this let's give we are going to show this in the form of a radio buttons. Okay, so let's auto import radio button. Okay, so this is going to be radio.group. Okay, so like this, and inside this we are going to give the button style as solid. Okay, so if you don't understand, you can just refer the design documentation for the different props that will apply for the radio group. Okay, so button style, if I type this as solid, okay, so you will be getting somewhat like this. Okay, so if I just show you the demo, and if I show you, so you will be getting in this form. Okay, so this form of radio button, so this is a solid button style, and inside this let's give the radio button itself. So radio dot button, so the value is going to be rent. Okay, and the text itself is going to be apartment, sorry, rent, like this, and we can just duplicate this. The same we can do it for the sale as well. Okay, sale, and here. Okay, so now if I just save this and go back, we should be able to see the at least one filter. Okay, yeah, there we go. Either we can click for rent or for sale, and then we will be having a button to apply or reset. Okay, so let us proceed ahead. So if you feel that if this is kind of boring and if you want to like skip this, you can just copy this particular component of filters and you can just paste it in your code, if you like don't like much of typing, and if you feel like this is a lot of typing. Okay, so you can just copy paste that. Anyways, this is like just building the components. Okay, so the more interesting part of building this project is coming up after this, right? So let's anyways continue. So I'm just going to duplicate this form item, which is also going to be another one for the apartment type. Okay, so either it is going to be either an apartment or it is going to be a house. Okay, so let's change this to apartment type. Okay, so this should be underscore, by the way. I just forgot to mention this underscore, and this too is going to be a button style of solid, and the value of this is going to be apartment. So whether the house is for apartment or an independent house. Okay, so this is going to be so independent, and let's change the text also. All right, so if we just go back and see and refresh, we should be having two buttons for apartment and independent. Okay, so we can just select any one of that, and let's now move ahead. So next is going to be the bedrooms, halls, and kitchens. Okay, so this is also going to be this is actually going to be a checkbox, so that we can select multiple choices. Either we want for if we have multiple choices, either 2 BHK or 3 BHK, for example. So let us use another form item. Okay, so inside this let's give the name of BHK. So and let's import the checkbox from man design. So checkbox, okay, and we are going to pass in the value. Okay, so the value is going to be first value is going to be one room kitchen, so 1_rk, and make sure that this actually matches the one that you define in your schema.prisma. Okay, so we have defined the enum types, right? So this 1_rk, so make sure there is no typo in here, and then let's close this up and let's give one rk for the text, and let's duplicate this multiple times for the rest of the options. So this is going to be 2. So I have updated the values for the rest of the checkboxes. Okay, so let's now go and have a look. Yeah, there we go. So we have one room kitchen, so we can just select multiple values from here. Okay, so let's now proceed ahead, and actually I just forgot to mention this in the form of a group. Okay, next is we have is the price range. So let's define another form.item, and inside this let's first of all give the prop of a label and set this to price, and then the name is going to be price. Okay, so inside this form item let's import the select element from and design. Okay, so inside this select we are going to pass in few class names. Okay, so this class names, like I just wanted to take the entire width of the available space for the filters, so let's give w-full, and inside this okay, so we have the placeholder. So the placeholder is, like, we can say select price range. All right, so and then we want to pass in some options. Okay, so options is going to take in an array. Okay, array of values of label and value. So the label is going to be 1 to 10,000 rupees, 1 to 10,000, like so, and the value is going to be 0 to 10,000. Okay, so without any spaces or commas. Okay, so make sure you do that. So again I told you, label is what you see and value is what actually you select and will be sent to the database for the query, right? So let's duplicate this a few more times and pass in few other values. All right, so next is going to be from 10,000 to 20,000, and then from 20,000, or maybe I can just duplicate this because this is kind of easy. So from 20,000 to, let's say, 30,000. Okay, so these are all for rent values. Okay, so then from 30,000 to 40,000, and 40,000 to 50,000. Okay, so also let's update the values. Okay, so the values are updated. Let's duplicate this few more times and put in values for also sale, which will going to be, like, you know, a larger number. So let's do for 50,000 to 1 lakh, and let's change the value to, let's say, 50,000 to 1 lakh, like this, and also let's do the same for rest. Okay, so from 1 lakh to 5 lakh. Okay, so we can just continue this for the rest of the values. Okay, so then we have for the 5 to 10 lakhs, then 10 to 20 lakhs, 20 to 50 lakhs, and then it keeps going on up to 10 crores. Okay, so this typing was a little difficult for me, so I just copy pasted. So let's finally close the select tag. Okay, so actually it should not be here. All right, so with this saved, we can just go back and have a look, and yeah, there you go. So we have the price range. Okay, so these are all for the rent values, and for which are all in lakhs. Okay, we are showing them in these values. Okay, so that's done, and now let's go ahead with the area. So by mistake I just added an extra 0 at the end, so make sure you take out 1 0 from all of these values. So let's duplicate this form.item once again, and let's change this value to area, and also the name. All right, so again the placeholder is going to be select area range, and then let's update these values to the area values. Okay, so let's remove these and start from 0. So the area is going to be from 0 to 500. Okay, so 500 square feet, and the value is going to be again from 0 to 500. Okay, so I'll just copy paste these values so that I just don't waste much of time in typing this. All right, so we have the area from 500 to 1000 square feet. Okay, from 1000 to 1500, 1500 to 2000, and from 2000 to 2500. Okay, so now if we just go back and refresh, we should be able to see the area drop down over here. Okay, so we can just select any area and we should be able to see the those properties with that area range. Okay, so now let's go back and do for the preferred tenants. Again, this is going to be a radio button. Either you want the preferred tenants for the what is that, for family, or is it going to be for bachelors? Okay, so let us copy one of these instances and let's do the same for the families and bachelors. So let's replace this with family and this bachelor. Okay, and the text as well. All right, and let's also change this to preferred tenants. All right, so that looks good. Now if we just go back and see, we should be having the radio button for family or bachelor. Okay, so let's now proceed ahead. So finally we have a button for to reset or to apply. Okay, so let's put a divider here right below this form item. All right, so inside this let's do a flex box. Okay, so flex from AndDesign. Okay, either if you want you can use AndDesign or you can use custom CSS for this flex box. So AndDesign itself has one, so we can define certain props like justify, either we want for center, start, or end. So we need at the end. Okay, so flex end. All right, and then we want a gap of 8. Okay, gap between the flex items, and inside this let's render two buttons. One is for the reset and one is to apply. So I guess flex didn't get imported. Justify, flex end, what's wrong? Okay, so we still didn't pass in children, that's why. So let's give a button. So inside this button let's give reset. Okay, and let's duplicate this the same for apply, but this time it is going to be of type primary. Okay, okay, so with that saved, if we just go back and refresh, we should be able to see the divider as well as two buttons to reset or apply. Okay, so now we have built the filter form. So now is the time to make this feature actually work. Okay, so all of these values that we have entered should be passed on to the database to get the filtered properties. All right, so let's work on that now. Okay, so remember we have given a name for every form item. Okay, so we do not have to manually set the state for every value that we select within our AndDesign form. Okay, so this is one of the best features that AndDesign provides us. Okay, so we can just use this name, and then whenever we submit the form, all these names will be will be passed as an argument to the on submit function. Okay, I hope that made sense. So let's try that. So the first step to achieving this is to define a form instance from AndDesign. Okay, so whenever we click on submit, it should call that particular function. So for that we need an instance from the form. So let us go to the form component, and we need to pass in a particular form instance. So let's pass in the prop of form, and we need to pass in that instance of the form. So how do we create that instance? So we just need to invoke the form.useForm. Okay, which is like a hook. We need to just invoke that and store it in a variable, and that variable we need to pass it inside here. Okay, so let's do that. So let's create a instance of let's call it filter form, and set this to form.useForm. So the form from AndDesign dot has a property called useForm. Okay, so which is a function which we need to call it, and maybe we can just push it right at the top. Okay, so once that's done, we just need to assign that to this form prop. Okay, so filter form, so this will create the form instance. Okay, so maybe I just did an error. Sorry, this will actually return an array which the first element is going to be the form instance itself. Okay, so that error goes away. So now we can, what we can do is we can use a on submit prop, on submit or on finish it is called. Okay, so not on submit, you can also get some suggestions. So we can just use a function which returns all the different values. Okay, so we can just say values, and now for now I can just show you what exactly we are getting from those values. Okay, so we can just console log the values. Okay, so right now if I just save and go back, and if I just try to fill this form and hit apply, so we should be able to see those form in our console, those form inputs in our console. Okay, so one more thing I forgot to do is this for this apply. Okay, so whenever we click on this, we need to submit the form. So let us give a non click handler over here, and let's call, sorry, not on click, so we just need to pass in a type of submit. Okay, so since type we have already defined over here, so this actually is called as HTML type. Okay, so let's do submit, and once we save this and go back, so whatever the values that I put in here, okay, when I click on apply, I should be able to see the form items over here in my console. So if I hit apply, there we go, we see all the different entries that we made for our filters. Okay, so we got the listing type, apartment type, the area, and the BHK. Okay, so we get in the form of an array where we just need to pass in, and then we have the preferred tenants and the price. Okay, so are we getting everything? Yeah, I think so. And yeah, okay, so this is also responsive, so that looks good. And now let's go ahead and make a database query with all these values to get the required properties, the filtered properties. So now let us go back to our actions file. So inside this file we have defined the function to get all the properties from our database. So now we can also receive arguments for whenever we call this function. Okay, so the arguments that we'll be receiving is the filters. Okay, so let us get the filters. Okay, and also we need to define the type for this. Okay, so for the type we just need to manually define. Let us within the root of our application, let's create a file for all the types that we are actually going to define within our application. So let's call this types.d.ts. okay, so this is going to be all the types for our TypeScript application. So let us export the type of filter values. All right, and set this equal to an object. So we just need to define the key and the value. Okay, so the key is the actual value that we are receiving, and what is the type of it. Okay, we just need to assign that. So the first one is going to be the listing type. Make sure you have no typos in this. Okay, so we can just give this a value of string. Okay, so listing type is going to be of value string, and this is going to be optional. Okay, so every filter value that we are passing in is going to be optional. Okay, so then we have is the apartment type. Okay, so don't give a comma, this is not a JavaScript object, but this is a type. This is just a type, okay, for that we are defining. So then we have is the apartment type, and this is also going to be optional and string. And then we have is the BHK string. Then we have the price, again string. Okay, so this is not going to be a number, but this is going to be a string. Okay, so then area, that is also going to be string, and then the preferred tenants. All right, so once we have defined all the types for our filter values, we have already exported them. Okay, so we can now go ahead and import within our server actions. Okay, so let us import filter type. Where is that? What did I call this? Filter value, sorry. Alright, so now we can just assign this to the type of this filters that we are receiving as arguments. So filter values. Alright, so now we can just go ahead and pass this to the db.property.findMany and within the where clause. Okay, so for now we are just using the isSold property as false, so we also need to manually spread across these filters. So now if I spread across all the filter values which we will be sending in the form of an object, you see that TypeScript doesn't like this. So it says that because we are defining enum types, okay, within our schema, and TypeScript doesn't know what kind of values that these filter properties will have. Okay, so it already knows that these are the types that we'll be sending, but what values that it doesn't know. So that is why it is complaining. So what we need to do is we need to explicitly for every enum type we just need to give a type inference that this is going to be of type that one. Okay, so let us do that. So I know this is some kind of extra work, but we have to do this as far as TypeScript is concerned, right? So let us go at the top and create a variable called filter conditions, and we are going to put this in the form of an object. Okay, and the type of this is going to be Prisma property where input. Okay, so let's do that, Prisma dot property where input. So this is the where clause that we are sending this property, this filter condition, so that expects the type to be that. So property where input. Okay, so inside this the first thing is going to be the type of the property, which is going to be filters dot listing type. Okay, so you see that it also gives us some suggestions because we are using TypeScript, and you see that it's giving that error that's saying that this can be either string or undefined, and so for this we can just put in the type inference because already we have defined within our schema file, right? So all of these values enum types, so we just need to assign that. So rest everything TypeScript will take care. Okay, so as listing type, so this is a type which we need to import. So all of this we'll be getting from the Prisma the client itself. Okay, so whatever the things which are defined within our schema.prisma. So let us import the listing type. Okay, so for some reason I am not able to import this. Sorry, this is not listing type, but it is enum type filter, enum type filter, and this is also coming from Prisma. Okay, so that error is gone. So let's do the same for the rest of the values. Okay, so next is we have the bhk. Okay, and this is coming from filters.bhk, and remember that this is an array. Okay, so we need to use a in operator which is built in Prisma. So we need to first check if we are actually having values in that array or not. So if that exists, then we want to use the in operator. Okay, so this will check if what are the values are there within our bhk array, and it will filter them out. So filters.bhk, so if it exists then we use this, else this is going to be undefined. Okay, and this type is going to be of prisma.enum bhk. So as prisma.enum bhk filter. Okay, so it's giving me some error for some reason. So this should be an array of strings, right? So within the type file, I guess I didn't mention that. So this should be an array of strings. So with that this error should go away. So next is we have the price. Okay, so let's define the price. So that is coming from filter dot price, and now we just need to check. Okay, so if the price we need to split based on the dash that we are providing over here. Okay, so this value, so if we use the split operator, this will return an array of these two elements. So the first one is we are going to check the minimum, and the second element is going to be the maximum. So let's go back and let's use the first, let's check that if filter price exists, then we are going to use the greater than or lesser than or equal to operator. Okay, so that is from GTE, that is stands for greater than or equal to, and we need to use the filters dot price dot split. Okay, so this split method we need to use on the dash, okay, that we are giving over there, and the first element is going to be the greater than. Okay, so 0, and this is going to be in the form of a string, so let's convert that to a number by adding a plus sign, and let's duplicate the same for lesser than or equal to. Okay, and this is going to be the second element in the array, which is going to be the minimum. All right, so so let's now give the else. It's going to be undefined. Okay, and okay, so for this you don't have to infer any type, because this is just going to be this is not an enum value, so we are passing the values directly in the form of a number. Okay, so then we have the area. Okay, again we are going to do the same check, so filters dot area. So if that exists, then we are going to use the greater than or equal to operator. So and set this to filters dot area dot split, and get the dash and grab the first element for the greater than or equal to. All right, and let's duplicate the same for the lesser than or equal to. Okay, so this should be 0 and 1. Okay, so let's convert this to a number as well. All right, so for area it's done, and for if we haven't defined any filter for area, it's going to be undefined. All right, then we have the finally preferred tenants, and this is going to be filters dot preferred tenants. Okay, so this is going to be as Prisma dot, since it's an enum type, we need to define the type. So enum preferred tenants filter. All right, then we, if this exists, okay, so we don't need to check for that. And finally let's grab this is sold, let's cut this and paste it within this filter conditions. Okay, so that's done, and let's give a comma here, and all we just need to do is pass in this filter conditions within our where clause. So let's do that. All right, so that's done, and it's still giving me some error saying that, so I just forgot to spread across this. All right, so or instead of this we can just directly pass in the filter conditions like so, and yeah, so this looks good without any errors. So it's now time to test it if we are actually getting the filtered properties or not. So for that, let's go back to the properties page, and for the values that we are receiving from this onFinish handler, so we can just create a state and store all the filter values inside that. Okay, so let's go right at the top and create a state for the filters. So I'm just going to call it filters and set filters. Okay, so this is going to be use state, and the type of this is going to be the filter values that we have defined within this types file. Okay, so filter values. All right, so this is going to be an array of this is just going to be an object initially, an empty object, and still we are getting this error because we are not passing in the argument, because it expects one argument but got 0, right? So we are going to account for that as well. So now let's go ahead and store all the filter values within this thing. Okay, so within our onFinish, we are going to call the set filters function and pass in all the values like so. Okay, so now let's go ahead and grab these filters and apply to this get properties. Okay, so let's put in the filters, and yeah, so everything looks good. So now is the time to test if we are actually getting the filtered values or not. So I just forgot to pass in the dependencies for this use effect function. So whenever the filter values change, so this function should run again, which means that it has to refetch those properties. So let's add in the filters as a dependency, and now if I just hit save and click on apply, so if I click on apply, or maybe I need to refresh and for rent, and still I don't get. So these are the values that I am receiving within my server actions, and for some reason I don't see the type I'm getting as undefined. So let's console log the filters and just see. So if I click on apply and go back to my console, and I'm getting the listing type as rent. So here I'm getting it as, okay, I have just defined type. I think I forgot to mention this as listing type. Okay, so let's fix that. So let's change this to listing type. Alright, so it's giving me some error. Okay, so in the database I have mentioned this just as type, I guess. Yeah, so this is just type, and here I'm making as listing type. So we need to be careful whenever we always need to refer our schema, and then make define the variables accordingly, right? So also I just need to change this from listing type to just type. Okay, alright, so if I save that and try to filter it out once again, so the type I'm getting it as rent, but in the console I'm still getting the listing type. Okay, I just forgot to change this back. So now if I refresh and try again and hit apply, so now I should probably be seeing only those properties for rent, but still I don't see. So in my console it is still showing type as undefined, but if I log the same within the, but here I'm getting the type as rent. So I don't know what's the reason. So let us check. So filters and get property, the same filters I'm passing in, but type, so this should be just type and not listing type. Maybe that is the error. Yeah, so this should just be type and not listing type. So if I just save this, and this time it should work. So I refresh and hit rent. Yeah, there we go. So we are getting those properties only for rent. Okay, so now let's test the same for other values. So this is going to be apartment or independent. So I'm going to hit independent. So there are no houses for independent, but if I click on apartment and hit apply, so these are the apartment houses, and let's say I want those apartments only for okay, so 2 BHK. So hit apply. So we just get those 2 apartments, 2 houses for 2 BHK, and let's set the price range. So this is 2,500, this is 3,500. So this should, I think I forgot to give a 0 to 1,000, sorry, 10,000. So let's go back and provide that value as well. So this is going to be 0 to 10,000, and the value also, let's change it. Okay, so if I hit apply, so I get those 2 properties, and if I hit from 10,000 to 20,000, I should get none. Okay, so those filters are working, and also the area. So this area is like 900 square feet, and this is 1,200 square feet. And if I select the area from 500 to 1,000, I should only be getting this. Yeah, so if I select from 1,000 to 1,500, I should be getting the other one. Good. And let's check for the family of bachelors. Okay, so this is a one for bachelors. So if I click on bachelor, I should still be getting this, and if I click on family, which means that I should not be getting any properties. Alright, so all of our filters are working nice and good. So this video is getting a little long, so in the next video we will be working on the sort functionality, and also we will be using a load more button to load more properties. So initially it will be 10, and it will, like, we can load more properties after that, so that we don't continuously make a request to the database with large amount of data, right? So let's do all of that in the next video.